Okay, has it been seen?
It's visible.
Okay, thank you. I will present my paper titled Drifting Culture During the COVID-19 Pandemic and its impact on the environment. Next, yeah. Okay. The term thrifting in Indonesia refers to the activity of hunting used clothes. Thrifting comes from the word thrift or frugal. Shopping for used clothes may no longer be a new phenomenon. Long before the pandemic, some people were familiar with involved in buying used clothes. Even so, wearing used clothes is still considered taboo and embracing for most people. However, thrifting activities during this pandemic have become a trend, uh, even in the spotlight because it is associated with the issue of protecting the environment from the bad effect of fast fashion. Thrifting that used to be taken for granted is now loved by young people. They are no longer ashamed to buy used clothes, but openly hunt used clothes on social media or marketplace. Uh, research that has been done related to thrifting includes macro environment of second-hand clothing business in Helsinki, which explores the external factor that affect the youth clothing business in Helsinki. Another article, Motivation and Meaning in Minds, Thrift Culture. This study seeks to gain a deeper understanding of the position of consumers in mind. This market respond to inform a statewide culture of reuse. And another study, namely phenomenology of lifestyle of UNISA students using used clothing. So that UNISA students interpret the use of used clothing as a lifestyle of fashion trend. They choose used clothes because they are affordable, well-known brand, unique, limited edition, quality materials, add to their clothing collection and look fashionable. The attitudes are influenced by the social environment, second-hand clothing stores, and the mass media. In contrast to previous study, this study used the framework and theory of cultural adaptation during the COVID-19 pandemic, which is related to the thrifting culture among young people. This study aimed to explain cultural change among young people related to thrifting, to find motivation for thrifting among young people, and find the relationship between thrifting and the environment. For theoretical background, I use casing theory. Culture in the concept of cultural adaptationist. Experts summarize some of the main assumption about culture, namely culture is a system that connect human group to their ecological environment. Cultural change is basically a process of adaptation of natural selection. Areas such as technology, economic, and element of social organization that are related to production are the most adaptive cultural subject. The occurrence of adaptive change usually begin and develop in these areas. The additional component of cultural system can have adaptive consequence in maintaining ecosystem, assisting in livelihood, controlling population, etc. This study used a qualitative descriptive method, which is intended to describe the existing phenomena. Data were obtained from literature studies on culture, pandemic environment, and other research on thrifting. Literature studies are sourced from scientific works, news about the pandemic and the thrifting phenomenon in Indonesia, and other sources. Dear participants, the COVID-19 pandemic is a global pandemic of coronavirus disease 2019. The virus was first identified in Wuhan, China in December 2019. This virus is suspected to have entered Indonesia around January 2019, and on March 2nd, 2019, the Indonesian government officially announced 2 cases of positive COVID-19 patients. The emergence of this pandemic immediately forced many changes in society. This is reflected in change in their activities, lifestyle, attitude, and action, including how and what they buy related to the consumption of clothing or fashion. Fashion is an inseparable part of human appearance and lifestyle. Fashion can be defined as a style that is accepted and used by the majority of members of a group at a certain time. A style that is popular in a certain time frame is usually associated with a trend. Fashion consumption is carried out in line with changing trend. During the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a trend of thrifting among young people. Thrifting is an activity of hunting of buying thrift item. Thrift is used good or clothes that are usually obtained from import activity. On average, this thrift has a wearable condition or even looks like it is new. According to data from Ibis World, currently thrift stores are a part of a large industry with a value of up to 14.4 billion US dollar. Maybe in Indonesia, the value of this industry has not been calculated. But the reality that can be seen is the emergence of online and offline thrift shop that are growing rapidly. The proliferation of thrift shops indicates increase in consumer demand for used clothing. This industry in Indonesia is favored by young people, marked by the rise of millennials who are proud to use second-hand goods. Thrifting related.
I'm afraid you have 5 minutes left.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, sorry. 5 minutes, okay. Okay, we can next. Now, used clothes are loved by young people through thrifting activities. They buy or even run the thrift clothing business openly. The popularity of thrifting cannot be separated from the situation and condition during the pandemic. The pandemic has resulted in people having to adjust to new habits such as strict health protocol, namely obliging to wear masks, maintaining distance, washing hand, and not doing activity outside the home. The sluggish economy as a result of the pandemic that has been impact on people purchasing power. Throughout 2020, the pandemic has seen millions of people lose their job or experience decline in income. These thrifting activities are considered to be appropriate in a pandemic situation. Frugality is a strategic action in dealing with decreased income. The thrift shop, which mostly use digital media in running its business, is also a safe shopping alternative for the public. Relying on this phenomenon, is it associated with casting theory? This thrifting activity is actually a cultural change as a process of adaptation to existing situation and condition. And this is, we can see three factors that trigger why people like thrifting. Thrifting challenge creativity when it's come to styling, because the price is cheap and there is awareness that clothes can be a huge source of waste and threaten the environment. If seen from the factor above is not excessive, if the thrifting or reuse trend is considered to the opposite of fast fashion culture, the thrift shop provides space for concept of zero waste. The available of cheap goods that are suitable for use has attracted many people to join this movement. Yes, this activity is important to suppress the textile production cycle, which has an impact on environmental pollution. Fast fashion itself reserved to a business strategy to reflect a quick response to trends by increasing the size and new product quickly and effectively to increase the value and quantity of demand of short cycle fashion product. The impact of this abundant clothing industry has a profound effect on environmental health. United Climate Change News say that the fashion industry contribute 10% of greenhouse gases arising from long supply chain and the use of energy in intensive production. The industry consumes more energy than the aviation and shipping industry combined. Apart from in carbon intensive supply chain and production process, the fashion industry consumes many other valuable resources. To make just one pair of denim jeans, it takes 10,000 liters of water to grow one kilo of cotton needed for a pair of jeans. In comparison, it takes one person 10 years to drink 10,000 liters of water. Cumulative, the fashion industry generates about 20% of global
You have a minute left.
water. Okay. Simultaneously, used textile can be reprocessed into new clothes. However, recycling is not enough. Other efforts are needed to balance the rapid production of the textile industry and human consumption of fashion items. The presence of thrifting culture is needed to balance the environmentally damaging fast fashion. The additional component that appear in culture system, such as awareness in responding to environmental degradation, are adaptive consequence in maintaining ecosystem. Apart from that, from a cultural perspective, technological and economic element and social organization involved in production are the most adaptive main area of culture. It is in this area the adaptive change usually begin and develop.
I'm afraid time is up, Ms. Fitria Astuti.
Okay, so sorry. Thank you. That's my view. This moderator to handle again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid we don't have time to have a QA sessions in these presentation sessions, but it's interesting to know that COVID-19 has also an impact, not only impact, I think, but impacts on the thrifting activity, including the representations of, cultural activity. Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Fitri, for the interesting and fruitful informations and work. We'll be having Ms. Anindita Fikri Amalia as the second presenters of today's sessions. Is Ms. Anindita ready for the session?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm
so
ready.
yeah, so the title of the presentation is Family Disorganizations of Konon Poetry in a Collections of Poems Perihal Gendis by Sapati Djoko Damono, Study of Social and Eco-Criticisms. Time is yours.
I'll share my screen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to discuss about family disorganization in Konon Poetry in a collection of poem Perihal Gendis by Sapati Djoko Damono, Study of Social and Eco-Criticism. First, I will explain to you about the object Konon Poetry. As we know about family is a small organization in society. The family has a useful capacity and role as the basis for maintaining family harmony. If one of members doesn't do his role properly, the family will be in chaos and will be had family disorganization. As you can see on your screen, Mudrock in Agustam defined family is a social group characterized by common residence, economic cooperation, and reproduction. It includes adults of both sexes. At least two of whom maintain a socially heterosexual relationship, and one or more children or adopted of socially cohabiting adults. That family disorganization caused by several reasons, such as lack communication and divorce. Based on these causes, family disorganization result an imbalance of roles in the family. Ladies and gentlemen, this study analyzed the family organization found in Konon Poetry by Sapati Djoko Damono. And the theoretical object present is family disorganization, which is a basis used to analyze the irregularity of family relationship contained in Konon Poetry written by Sapati Djoko Damono. Why choose this poetry to the object? Because the girl in that poetry who had loneliness is an impact of the occurrence of disorganization in her family. It will have an impact on her psychological and social life because she is currently growing. Therefore, the family disorganization is so related during pandemic. The article used sociology of literature and eco-criticism theory to reveal family disorganization in Konon Poetry. Some of previous study of this research is Muhammad Pisyafaan in 2021 entitled Masalah Kejiwaan Tokoh Utama dalam Prosa Liris Perihal Gendis karya Sapati Djoko Damono. Second is Teguh Supriyanto in 2020 entitled The Imaginary in Perihal Gendis Putri Book by Sapati Djoko Damono and its application as drilling material for literature learning in high school. And third is El Solihah in 2019 entitled Puitika Kesepian dalam Perihal Gendis karya Sapati Djoko Damono. Nah, next, the third part of this presentation is ladies and gentlemen, the second I will explain to you about problem formulation in this article. The article of this presentation on the article is tries to answer a question related to the result of the analysis of Kononkum by Sapardi Djokodamono and the family organization that is contained in it with theories. And the third part is this presentation in theory that the writer used to this research. As you can see on your screen, this research used two theories. There are sociology theories and eco-criticism theory. First, sociology theory. This research uses sociology of literature, which is concentrated in family disorganization on Konon Putri by Sapardi Djokodamono. Good in 1991 explained family disorganization as the breakup of a family unit, the solution or fracture of a structure of social roles when one or more members fail to perform adequately their role obligation. The form of family organization according to Bude includes legality, cancellation, separation, divorce, and living, and also blank family and the absence of a person from a partner due to undesirable someone in circumstance. And the second theory is eco-criticism theory. Eco-critic is a theory that tries to evaluate contemporary text and culture with which serve to represent the environment, which is a response to the crisis that occurs in the environment, because eco-critic asks several questions on the relationship between environment and literature. Nah, eco-criticism is not only emphasizing the harmony of humanity and nature, but also talks about the destruction caused to nature by the change which to take in the modern world, for most of which man is directly responsible. Then I will explain why this object is important for us. The discussion of this presentation have two sections. First section is described about Kononkum. Kononkum has a fourth part in describe about family disorganization in her family. And the second, family disorganization in Kononkum. Family disorganization that occurred in Kononkum to relate during the pandemic. First part is description of family disorganization in Kononkum. This session contains a description of the family disorganization in Kononkum. In the first part of the first line of Konon poem, imagine that the girl hoped that her parents give her love and attention to her every day. However, the girl didn't get it every day because her parents were busy with their life. Indirectly, they are left their child alone in the loneliness. In the second line, diction, tetapi ada sebilah pisau di sebelahmu, means there is no happiness for her. The diction, sebilah pisau, is mean her parents kill her slowly with the loneliness. Second, let's also describe that the love from her parents make her uncomfortable and feels like a stranger if they are together.
You have 5 minutes left, Ms. Anamita.
Okay. Next, second discussion is family disorganization in Kononkum. The effect of family disorganization that occurred the girl is she will think no one loves her anymore and feels worthless because her parents left her alone. It can be seen that the girl family life is fairly like to life today because the parents who have selfishness and lack communication. So they think this divorce is a good choice. Now, the divorce rate during a pandemic is increasing compared to before the pandemic. This can be used to the reason that the level of family harmony and the carrying out of family function at this time is very low. Sorry. Based on several Now, increasing divorce rate during pandemic happened because decreased economic income in the family. There will dispute dishonesty in the family. This will affect the establishment of good communication between family members. It explained in the description in the first stanza of the fourth of diction. That diction is indicate the divorce rate during a pandemic. In conclusion of this presentation is Konon poem by Sabadi Djoko Damono is a long poem consisting of four parts. Depict, depiction, depiction of her family disorganization in Conan poems can be seen from the diction used by the author. In addition, Conan poem is also relevant to life today. Family disorganization at this time has increased compared to life before the pandemic. Okay, this is my contact. Thanks for attention and thank you.
Thank you for delivering the presentations, Ms. Anindita. And ladies and gentlemen, we still have some minutes to have a Q&A sessions. You may ask some things from the presentations given. And yeah, it's always interesting to know that Mr. Sapadi Djoko Damono has always been an influential figure, and now we know that his works are being studied a lot. Yeah. Any questions or statements or comments on the presentations given? You may write the questions also on the meeting chat. Okay, it seems that there is no questions or comments on the presentations. Then we're going to move to the next presenter, and we'll be having Ms. Ratna Purwaningsih as the third presenter, with the title of her paper, Assessment the Sustainability Status of the Borobudur Temple using the RAP Tourism with Multi-Dimensional Scaling, or MDS approach. Time is yours, Ms. Ratna Purwaningsih.
Okay, thank you. Let me share screen or presentation.
Yes, the screen is yours. And we cordially remind everyone to fill the attendance list shared by the host of the meeting. Yeah. The link can be accessed through the meeting chat. Thank you. Are you encountering any difficulties, Ms. Ratna?
Yes, I'm sorry. This black
Yeah,
background.
that's okay. Take your
In
time. Do you need some more time? We can move to the other presenters if it is needed.
Can you see my
Yes,
presentation? Yes.
perfect, perfect. It's
Okay, okay.
workable. It's working now.
The loading is very take a time. Sorry. Okay. Thank you for the time, moderator. My name is Ferdinand Agusti. In here, I will represent my team with the topic sustainability status assessment of the Borobudur template using the rep tourism with multidimensional scaling approach. In our presentation, have 7 outline will be present. Borobudur template in a world as a large body template and the greatest body monument in the world, which is located in Magelang, Central Java. Borobudur template become the center of attention of the world community in terms of tourism, archaeology, and knowledge. Borobudur template as a tourism also have was visited by 3 million domestic tourism and also 240,000 foreign tourism in 2019. The arrival of a visitor have a positive and negative impact on the sustainability of Borobudur culture tourism. And positive impact, there are business around tourism, promoting the local product and increasing the income of the surrounding community. And also in the other hand, the negative impact is described to the preservation of cultural tourism objects. So this research aims to determine the sustainability status of Borobudur template and define recommendation for indicator with low sustainability conditions. Tourism and sustainability tourism. Tourism is a traveling activity from one place to another made within a period of temporary time and exercised by any person or a group of persons as an effort to find balance, harmony, or happiness with the environment in a social, cultural, natural, and sensitive dimension. And now tourism become to sustainable tourism. It means that the management of all resources in such a way that we can meet economy, social, and aesthetic need while maintaining cultural coherence, important ecological process, biological diversity, and also life support system. In this paper, have many indicators from the researchers in environmental dimension have 3 elements such as environmental protection, flora protection, and also energy management with each indicator like regulation to anticipate environmental risks, regulation for environmental management and protection, waste management program, and also eco-friendly transportation. And for the economic dimension, like public participation and access, opportunity for local community, and economic sustainability. For the social dimension, have 2 elements. There are visitor management and public relation and information service. And then for institutional dimension, have 4 elements like management organization, safety and security, visitor satisfaction, and also planning arrangement. In this paper, have 6 stages for assessment sustainability tourism. First is review element and attribute, like before this, like this, generate indicator for assessment, and then provide an assessment, data collecting. Data collecting in this paper use a questionnaire to visitor because this right now is pandemic, so or used to Google form to visitor perfection. And also visitor perfection can interest because assessment according visitor perfection can meet visitor expectation and focus to increasing their satisfaction. And 4 is calculate of sustainability index. 5, the leverage factor analysis, and the last is the conformity test. And then after the counting, then define the category status. In table 2, have a 4 category status like bad, less, enough, and good. Also, after status category, then recommendation assessment for the indicator sensitive with side implementation and impact for sustainability, like difficult, easy, or difficult. It's mean bad, same, better, much better, bad for sustainability. Okay, result and discussion of the papers. In environmental dimension, have 2 indicators in sensitive. There are management of water safety and quality, and also instruction for floral destruction. Borobudur area have a good water management and also few plant or flower in the area of tourism destination have been well managed because it's very important. And for economic dimension, have 1 indicator for sensitive. There are a facility of community advice and satisfaction, lack of activity, existing relationships, and accepting the aspiration of local community need to be considered from the requiring in Borobudur template. For the social cultural dimension, have 2 indicators sensitive. There are availability of information in various forms of media and various type of travel destination. Borobudur now is quite good to turn of the film of visit and type of the tourism trip to destinations such as outbound activity, study tour, family gathering, like that. So it's very important in Borobudur temple in Magelang. The last but not least is institutional dimension, have 1 indicator sensitive. This is the tourism destination management. The Borobudur need to carry out various principles such as doing a conservation program, maintaining, and the relationship about the value of the cultural asset and the tourism, and also carry out of monitoring activities. And then this value of index sustainability, each dimension for Borobudur template, environment, economy, social budaya, and institutional. We can see that social budaya have a high index for sustainability. After all containing and also then have to assessment for the recommendation for environmental dimension, have 2 recommendations. There are planning arrangement and standard of conformity. With
You have 5 minutes left, Ms. Ratna.
Okay. And then for economic dimension, have a recommendation developing compliant handle service and increasing the sustainable box. And social cultural dimension, there are recommendation construction of outbound ride and flying fog, also water recreation. And last was institutional dimension. There are periodic monitoring and evaluation, and also promoting of complementary tourism and existing attraction. Okay, for the conclusion, the sustainable status assessment of the Borobudur template show us a sustainability index 69.84 for environmental dimension index, with format by environmental dimension 66.8 92.94, economic dimension 72.62, social cultural dimension 72.76, and institutional dimension 69.27. With the index category as enough, quiet, sustainability. And leverage analysis defines several sensitive indicators based on Higgs root means square indicator is its dimension. And also the last recommendation for improvement of sustainability index are arrangement of plans, developing complaint handling service, the construction of bond right and framework, and to dissemination for information and promote the complementary tourism and attraction for Borobudur template. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ratna.
Yes.
Yes, the Borobudur, the masterpiece, one of our cultural heritages in Indonesia. Yeah, so it's been studied from interdisciplinary, what is it called, angles, and we know that yeah, it's always interesting to study our cultural heritage, and Ms. Ratna has just delivered a very good presentations on the object of the cultural heritage. Yeah. So we still have 3 minutes left for the QA sessions. We will let everyone that is going to ask some questions or give their comments on the topic. You may also write the comments or questions on the chat box as usual. Yeah. All right. So no one is going to deliver questions or comments. Then we're going to have the next presenter. So with the title of the presentations, uh, the influence of Javanese culture or on Hadrami Arabs in coastal society of Semarang. And the presentations will be delivered by Mr. Rabi Jihan Amaruli, known as Sheikh Rabit. Time is yours.
Thank you very much, Gus Moderator. How about my slide? Is it visible?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Hello everyone. My name is Rabi Jihan Amaruli. I am a student at Doctoral Program of History, Faculty of Humanities, Universitas Diponegoro Semarang. And today I want to give a presentation about the influence of Javanese culture on Hadrami community in coastal society of Semarang. This presentation has 4 sections. Section 1 is introduction. The second section is Hadrami community in Semarang between diaspora, marriage pattern, and cultural encounter. Third section is hybrid culture on Hadrami in Semarang coastal society, focusing on language, fashion, and food. And the fourth section is conclusion. I want to start with the introduction. Who is Hadrami? The Hadrami are an ethno-religious community who have long migrated from their homeland in Hadramaut, South Yemen, to various coastal areas that border the Indian Ocean, such as the eastern coast of Africa, India, and Southeast Asia. In Java, they live in north coast of Java, from Batavia or Jakarta, and then Tegal, Pekalongan, Semarang, Gresik, and Surabaya, and also in Bondowoso. And why Semarang? As a city of the north coast of Java, Semarang has been one of the important ports in the Java Sea region since colonial time, in addition to Batavia, Gresik, and Surabaya. And Semarang, on that time, is an important trading center alongside Surabaya, Batavia, and Singapore. And that's why in the late 19th to early 20th century, Semarang remained one of the 10 largest Arab colonies in the Dutch East Indies. They live in 2 main areas, Kampung Melayu and Kampung Kauman. Why Semarang is also important in these subjects also because Hadramis in Semarang has a unique and distinctive expression that distinguishes it from the other communities. These conditions have provided context for the cultural encounter between the Hadrami community and Javanese culture. What is cultural encounter? Christiansen, Dalal, and Menargat Larsen defines that cultural encounter is the dynamic of the flow of cultural formation as a result of interactions between groups and individuals across cultural boundaries. As a result of cultural encounter is hybrid culture or hybridity. Grady divine hybridity is refers to culture, but still maintains the meaning related to three aspects, such as race, language, and ethnicity, which are interconnected. So the main problem in this article is to identify the influence of Javanese culture on the Hadrami community in contemporary Semarang. This will be traced through two main questions. First, how did the cultural encounters between Hadrami and Javanese culture take place? And then second, as a result of these cultural encounters, what forms of hybrid culture can be found? Hadrami community in Semarang uh, can be rooted from the early 19th century. It seemed that the number of Hadrami in Semarang was large enough to be led by a colony of chiefs. During the period between 1840 to 1855, some Hadrami people in Semarang began to accumulate large wealth and capital, which can still be enjoyed by the descendants. However, many of them also fell into poverty, while some of them rose again by marrying wealthy indigenous people. In the 1816 to 1870s, the colony declined slightly. However, a few years later, the number of Hadrami immigrants to the region increased. In Semarang, the Hadrami people did not have their own territory. They settled in Kampung Kauman and Kampung Melayu, where Javanese and Chinese lived also. In general, only men migrated without their wives and sisters. When they arrived in Semarang, they later married women from several local ethnicities. This means almost all descendants of Hadrami at this time have the status of muwalad. It means peranakan of mixed parentage, and not hulaitis or toto, pure-blooded. Despite having peranakan status, they are still considered part of the Hadrami community um, as they recognize patrilineal lineage. However, being part of the lineage cannot guarantee their Hadrami identity. Despite being outside their native land, the Hadrami appear to maintain endogamous mating patterns within their respective groups, particularly Sada or Sayyid. Sayyid and moreover Sharifah, people for women, are expected to marry within the Sada community. A Sharifah is not allowed to marry a non-Sayyid. This concept is called kafa'ah, which is usually translated as equality. Kafa'ah is still upheld by the majority of Hadrami, both in the Hadramaut and in the archipelago. And of course, it remains a limitation in the exercise of women agency. In contrast to women, Kafa'ah was not strictly applied to Hadrami men, especially Hadrami in the diaspora, who were given the option of taking wives from outside society. The pattern of Hadrami marriage, which was actually based on the principle of kafa'ah, was very important to build a Hadrami community in a new place. But in the 1970s to 1980s, due to ecological and economic reasons, some of the Hadrami families decided to move from their old villages to new settlements, both inside and outside Semarang. Some of the Hadrami families who remain in Kampung Melayu and Kampung Kauman continued to maintain their Hadrami tradition by making new adaptation. For example, the ritual of mitoni, derived from the Javanese language pitu or seven, which means a ceremony to commemorate the 7 months of pregnancy, becomes ngapati, derived from the Javanese language papat, or 4, which means the ceremony to commemorate the 4 months of pregnancy. For them, ngapati is considered more religiously based because it is in accordance with the Islamic concept about ruh. However, there was also a Hadrami in Semarang who changed his name from Salim to Salimin so that he would not be treated differently from the Japanese. I want to talk to the third sections about the hybrid culture of Hadrami in Semarang coastal societies. The Hadrami diaspora in Semarang have gone through a long process. This process provides conditions for cultural encounters, which in turn produce a cultural hybrid. In this context, although endogamous marriage still prevails among the Hadrami, it has also made way for new cultural forms. As it is a hybrid culture, on the one hand, they try to maintain their Hadrami identity, while on the other hand, they naturally make various adaptations. From the marriage, for example, although the Sayyid married Japanese woman, they did not appear to have married their Sharifa to non-Sayyid group. This relationship, in fact, helps the process of integrating the Sayyid with the local people and at the same time maintaining their genealogical identity. By doing so, they succeeded in forming a fluid identity based on genealogy rather than more dense forms of identity such as ethnicity and race. Furthermore, as a coastal city, the egalitarian and fluid character of Semarang Javanese culture also influenced the dynamic aspect of the culture. To prove this, three main aspects are interest, language, fashion, and food. How about the language? The language of conversation in the Hadrami family homes is not Arabic, but rather Malay, Indonesian, and Javanese. As a coastal community, Semarang has its own distinctive dialect. However, typical Arabic terms are still found. For example, Arabic terms that are often found and spoken by them, such as ana for me and ente for you. For example, kapan ente mau berangkat ke Solo? Besok rencana nih ana mau berangkat ke Solo. In some conversation, the word ajib to praise something or yahanu when adopting something is also often found. Can ajib tenan Ami Ahmad itu ya. Atau wah yahanu ente. Harim also found in the community. Harim is the term to denote a woman or wife, and zuwaj or marry are also often spoken by some Hadrami people in Semarang. For example, piye kok ente ndak ndang zuwat ki? Kasihan lo Harim bawa sana sini misalnya. Hati-hati ya, Gus moderator. They also use Semarang dialect with ik or o ya. For example, hawane panas banget iki. Kue iki cen yak nah misalnya. They also use mas for brother and bak for sister. For example, mah ini ada mas Jan bawakan nasi kebuli ya. Not membawakan tetapi bawakan is typical of Arab dialect. However, there are also Hadrami who can speak Javanese Kromo fluently. The Hadrami in this category usually have a large family background from Solo, Central Java. The use of sebeh for father and semeh for mother is also found. Even so, at home, the mention of father is still abah, while mother is still mama or umi. The second is fashion. Since colonial times, the Hadrami have been easily distinguished by the clothing, fashion. They wear jubah and gamis. Today, the jubah and gamis are not everyday clothing of the Hadrami, but we can see the jubah and gamis and also turbah, the imamah, wear by the religious leaders. We also can see baju koko, sarung, and typical Yamani, Yamani white or green cap. Blend of things, batik, sarung, peci, or they call picis, and then sirwal atau or Japanese said surwal for men, kebaya and jarik for elderly women. We also see the unique fashion of the blend between Arabs and Japanese is in the Arabs and Semarangan wedding style. For example, jubah and gamis for the group, complete with a headband, imamah turban, decorated with flowers. Meanwhile, the bride wore a dress with a head covering. On the Hadrami Semarangan weddings, or manten Semarangan, are usually held around the Maulid, reading the history of the Prophet, one of the Hadrami traditions ceremonies, accompanied by marawis or tambourine, or they call Rebana Habshi.
You have 5 minutes left, Mr.
We
Jihan.
also found the Javanese Surakartan wedding styles from Hadrami are more flexible and willing to hold wedding ceremonies in Javanese custom. As the capital of Central Java, Semarang is closely related to the Javanese culture of Surakarta, complete with kelenengan music. Last is food. In the many Hadrami specialities, kebuli rice is the most popular in the community. Nasi kebuli is a rice dish with a savory flavor. This rice is cooked by lamb cloth, goat's milk, and ghee. Kebuli is served with mutton and sprinkled with sliced dates and raisins. In Indonesia, goat's milk is usually replaced with coconut milk or santan, while mutton is sometimes mixed in rice, sometimes fried and served separately. The last section is conclusion. The cultural encounter between the Hadrami community and Javanese culture took place as a result of their migration in the late 19th century. From Hadramaut, the land of origin of the Hadrami, they traveled across the Indian Ocean and settled in new places in the archipelago. One of the centers of the Hadrami diaspora is Semarang, an important port city of the north coast of Java. In Semarang, they have adapted while maintaining their Hadrami cultural identity. In the 20th century, the integration of the Hadrami to Javanese culture became stronger, as shown the willingness of younger Hadrami to adopt local customs in Semarang. The secret to the success of the Hadrami diaspora in their new homeland is the degree of their adaptation to Javanese culture. This article proves how the integration of Javanese culture with the life of the Hadrami people in Semarang has formed a hybrid Hadrami culture, as seen in language, fashion, and food. Even though they lived together and made a relation with Chinese, the influence of Javanese culture on Hadrami was felt stronger. This is believed to be caused by religious factors. As a coastal city with an egalitarian and cosmopolitan character, Semarang has contributed to the success of the cultural integration of the Hadrami. Thank you very much. Shukran. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Awesome, Pak Jihan, Mr. Abi Jihan. That was a very fun presentations, and I believe the research is going to be also very analytical in terms of the content. Yeah, so it's interesting to know that there are many communities living in Semarang City, and one of them is the Hadrami community. Yeah, so Pak Jihan has just delivered many information, some information, yeah, including the existence of the community and how they acculturate with the local culture and how they adapt to the situations nowadays. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we still have some minutes to have a Q&A sessions. We'll be listening to some participants who want to deliver questions or comments on the presentation. And especially the nasi kebuli, ya, Pak Jihan, it makes me hungry. One of my favorite is in Ungaran City, Pak Jihan. Jawas. Jawas. Yes. Have you tried it before,
Yeah,
Pak
yeah.
Jihan? Yeah, tastes good. Okay, we'll be still waiting for the participants to ask some questions or comments.
In Java, nasi kebuli dicampur bersama sambal goreng ati, Pak.
Oh,
Kita
tastes good.
tidak akan menemukan itu di Hadramaut.
Oh ya, yes. Benar Pak, benar. Tapi kambingnya juga mungkin beda ya Pak. Kambing Jawa, kambing yang lain, domba. All right, so it seems that no one is going to telephone some questions or comments on the presentations. Again, that was an awesome presentations and of course fun, yeah, Pak Jihan. Then of course at the same time it's very analytical. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be having the last presenters of the session. So we'll be listening to Ms. Adnania Nugraheni for the presentations with the title of the presentations as follows. Environmental local wisdom represented in communications patterns of Patimbang Tandu in Minangkabau's culture. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you to the moderator for giving me this opportunity. Now let me share my screen. Okay, have it seen yet?
Not yet. It's loading, I guess. I'm wondering if the other participants have seen the slides or not. Okay, so I think it's still loading, as in India. So just take your time.
Okay, let's wait. I guess I have a technical problem with sharing the screen. Can you help me share the screen, please, moderator?
Wait, we haven't received any kind of PowerPoints from the committee. Have you sent it before?
Yeah, I've sent it.
Wait a minute. I'll ask the host of the sessions to help us with that. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Ms. Adnania, I'm afraid we don't have the slide right now. I mean, it's going to be a different case because the slide has been sent to the other committee and we haven't received anything until today. I just asked one of the representation of the committee and he said that it's okay for us to begin the presentations without the slide. Or you can perhaps share the slides to my WhatsApp number, if you don't mind. I'm afraid you're still muted. Sorry. You're still muted. Yes, please. Yes. What
Okay.
did you say? Do you want to
Is it-
share? Yes, perfect. Finally, we can see the slides.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
If it's difficult to have a full screen, what is it called screen? Then you can just like use the slides like that.
Okay.
Yes, perfect. It's working.
Yes. Okay. Sorry for the inconvenience before. Now, in this occasion, I'll present my research paper entitled Environmental Local Wisdom Represented in Communication Patterns of Batimbang Tando in Minangkabau's Culture. As for the contents of my presentation today, it consists of 4 parts, which is introduction, research method, and result and conclusion. And now we come to the introduction part. Indonesia is known for its cultural diversity. This cultural diversity comes from various ethnic groups spread across Indonesia, and one form of this culture can be found in wedding ceremony. In Minangkabau's culture, there are some events that have to be done from before until the wedding day, such as marese, betimbang tando, or engagement by night, akad nikah or marriage contract, menjapit marapulai, and wedding party or baralet. Each of the above processes has its own characteristic and is even considered unique because some of them are found in other cultures. So that the purpose of this study is to find out and discuss the communication patterns in the process of Batimang Tando in Minangkabau's cultures and to find out the relation between culture and environment found in this event. As for the research method, the types of this research is descriptive qualitative by using ethnography of communication approach. And the data in this research are obtained from the informants involved in the events. In order to collect the data, I use participant observation by doing interview and note taking. And to analyze the data, I use the Delheim's theory about speakings. And now we come to the result. There are 3 points that should be understood in analyzing communication pattern. The first one is communicative situation. The second one is communicative events. And the third one is communication acts. As I said earlier, I will use the Delheim's theory to analyze the data, and there I'll present it in more detail. The first one is about situation setting, or we can say it the communicative situation. This event is take place in the boy's house. The event itself can be held anytime according to the agreement of both boy and girls families. And for the participant in these events are the boys and girls families, which includes mama or uncle, juru sambah, parents, brother and sister, and other close relatives. And all of the participants are adults. In this event, both boy and girl which are getting engaged are prohibited to join the event. And the next one is about the ends or the outcome. This event aims to achieve agreement between both families to continue the relationship to the higher level or the marriage level. Besides that, this event is also held to maintain the tradition of Minangkabaunis that has been passed down from generation to generation. And the next one is about the X sequence or the communicative events. In this process, the most important event is laid on the X sequence because in this part, there are many most communicative acts. There are some communicative events present in this event. The first one is menyambah or pasambahan. Pasambahan in Batimbang Tando is a kind of communicative act done by juru sambah from both families in order to discuss something. The language used is subtle Minangkabau language, usually in the form of pantun and talibun, which contain idiom, allusion, and proverb, which is different from everyday language. The topic of this discussion is about the purpose of the girl's family come to the boy's house. And this discussion cannot be done by just anyone. The one who will lead the discussion is a person who understands how to use the subtle language of Minangkabau and great at choosing word. Usually, this will be done by the juru sambah or elders. The discussion in pasambahan occur between juru sambah of the girl's family, or we call it Sultan Mudo, and juru sambah from the boy's family, or we call it Sultan Diateh. This pasambahan process consists of 3 parts. There is opening, topic of discussion, and then the closing. As for the opening part, it can be seen in the screen. The discussion is opened by the juru sambah from the girl's family by saying the utterances present in the screen, which means that it is to show politeness and respect each other. In this context, speech above uttered by Sultan Mudo as a sign to respect of respect to Sutandiate. In these lines, the communication pattern is started by giving respect to others. After that, the Jurusamba from the boy's family will reply by the utterances present in the slide, which is mean that he gave permission to Sultan Mudo to continue carry the discussion. And then after permitted to continue discussion, Sultan Mudo will reply by saying the utterances present in the screen, which is mean that line 1 to 9 contains the greeting from Sultan Mudo to all of the boys' family, including Nini Mama and the boys' parents, where lines 10 to 15 means that the girl's family comes to the boys' house not only to visit, but it's a special visit where they bring Siriah and Pinang, which is a symbol of respect in Minangkabau. It means that they come with an important thing to discuss and they hope that the boys' family receive their intention by eating the Siriah and Pinang. In this step, the communication pattern is continued by asking something to other. In addition, in this step, the communicative act is not only the verbal act, but also the non-verbal act. The non-verbal act in this step is Sultan Mudo handed the charano which contains Siriah to Sultan Diate or the host, and then he will pass the charano to other members of the boys' family. After that, the boys' family will eat, chop, or just held the Siriah. This tradition of eating Siriah in Minangkabau's culture means respect to other groups. Siriah or daun sirih itself in Minangkabau symbolize respect and hospitality. In addition, Siriah and Pinang are also used to symbolize life. The bittersweet taste of Siriah and Pinang symbolize the good and bad aspect that present in our lives. In this event, it symbolizes the bittersweet journey that should be experienced by both families since they will further the relationship to the next level. Now, from the explanation, it can be seen that the cultural life and nature cannot be separated. In Minangkabau, it is common to use symbol from nature. As can be seen in the screen, the bittersweet taste of Siriah and Pinang are used to symbolize the good and bad situation in life. Moreover, the use of other symbols from nature, for example, Balam and Barabah, which is a kinds of birds, and others indicates the closeness between society and their surrounding nature or environment, which result in the presence of linguistic form or utterances based on natural surroundings. This closeness is also appropriate with Minangkabau's philosophy, which is alam takambang jadi guru, which means whatever present in nature can be used as a guidance in life. And the next one, after the boys' family test the Syria, the Sultan Diate will reply the utterances by Sultan Mudo by saying these utterances, which is tells that Sultan Diate informing Sultan Mudo that they have eaten the Syria, and then by using allusion, implicitly asks Sultan Mudo the reason of their visit. The allusion can be seen in the 8 till 14 lines or in the bold lines. Besides using allusion, Sultan Diate also asks the intention of Sultan Mudo by using indirect speech. In this step, the communicative act is in the form of asking for something. And then, Sultan Mudo as Jurusamba from the girl's family will reply and tell the reason why they come by saying the utterances present in the screen, which is explained that they come to the boy's house to propose to him to be their niece's husband and hope that they will accept it. In this step, the communicative act is in the form of explaining and hoping for something. And for the closing part, as can be seen in the screen, the utterances mean that the boy's family accept the proposal of the girl's family. In this step, the communicative act is in the form of accepting something. And as the closing act, Sultan Mudo will reply by saying the utterances, which can be seen in the screen, which also means that the girl's family give tando or sign to the boy's family as an exchange for the proposal acceptance. And then the next communicative event present in this event are makan bajamba or eating together, and then manantuan ari or setting the day of the marriage. The next point is key, which consists of tone, manner, gesture, and posture found in the process. In this event, the key can be divided into two. There are verbal and non-verbal act. In the verbal act, the tone used by the speakers are clear. To avoid misunderstanding, sometimes juru sambah will use emphasize on certain word when asking. The low tone is used when conveying the objective of their arrival and greeting all the participants present to show respect to the host. And the nonverbal act is there are several gestures made by the participants to show respect to the host. In Pasambahan, Jurusamba from the girl's family lift both his hand above his head like someone's begging. In speaking, he will slightly lower his head to respect the interlocutor. The nonverbal act can also be seen in when handing charanu, which contains siriah and others. The girl's family handed charana to the host because it's mandatory even in cultural, even in Minangkabau. They will be considered impolite to not bring the siriah. Or for the host, testing the siriah from the charano handed by the other family shows respect toward the other. And then for the instrumentalities or the form of speech used in this event is subtle language in the form of pantun and talibun, which contain idiom, allusion, and proverb. The language used is more poetic and different from the language used in everyday life. And the next point is about norm. In the process of pasambahan, both jurusambah are doing discussion so that they speak in turns one another. The turn taking should be clear in order to avoid overlapping in speaking. In the sambah menyambah process, there are some messages or values that can be taken. Some of them are: first, the value of respect and honor other people. The second, the value of decide something important by discussion. The third, the value of following the custom that has been done generation to generation. And the fourth one, the value of understanding the relationship between human and nature. And the next point is about genre. The genre of this pasambahan event is this discussion in the form of pantun and talibun. And from the explanation above, it can be seen that there are several communicative acts found in the event, which consists of respecting, asking for something, accepting something, and agreeing to something. In the next, we come to the conclusion parts. In the there are some points that can be concluded from the paper. The first one is the process of Batimang Tando is held in the boys' house. This event can be held anytime according to the agreement between the two families. In this event, there are several communicative events such as Pasambahan, Makan Bajamba, and Manantuanari. The main event in this process is on Pasambahan process because the success or not the agreement depends on the discussion done in Manyambah process. Sambah Manyambah process occurs between Jurusambah from the girl's family and Jurusambah from the boy's family. The communicative act in Pasambahan contain respecting others, asking for something, accepting something, and agreeing something. The language used in this Pasambahan is subtle Minangkabau language in the form of pantun and talibun. The aims of Batimang Tando is to achieve agreement between both families to continue the relationship to the higher level and to maintain the local tradition that has been passed down from generation to generation. In addition, in one of the communicative acts, the guest asks the host to chew the siriah and eat pinang. In this event, siriah and pinang are used to symbolize the bittersweet of life. In addition, siriah is also used to symbolize respect and hospitality. And the last point that can be concluded from the presentation is about the use of environmental symbol in this event shows that nature and cultural life cannot be separated as they are function to preserve harmonious relation between culture and environment. Okay, that's all from my presentation. I'll give it back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentations, Ms. Adnania. We know that again, Indonesia is one of the rich country with cultural heritages, yeah, and one of the topic given by Adnania was quite interesting in terms of the what is it called the topic, yeah. So we know that Minangkabau is among cultural entities that have rich cultural heritages, yeah, and he just brought us a very interesting topic on the language use and environmental, local wisdom. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we still have some minutes to have a Q&A session. You may have some questions or comments about the presentation. No questions, no comments. Right, so let's go back with the presentation. So as I told you before that the presentation was going to be the last, what is it called, list on the presentation sections. Yeah, and then it's good to know that most of the participants, most of the presenters were presenting were delivering the presentations very well, and we expect that these fruitful meeting, these fruitful presentations will not only last in the sessions, meaning that everyone could still develop the research, could still develop the ideas of bringing the academic research within the daily basis. And of course, we wish you all best of luck. So last but not least, we are going to take a picture of these presentations. The host will help us with taking the pictures. We hope everyone could turn on the camera and say cheese. Okay.
Okay, please turn on your camera. Okay, I'll take the picture now. All right. 3, 2, 1. Okay, once again. Wait, I'll save the picture first. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, done.
And ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the presentation sessions. We look forward to seeing you on other occasions. And we wish you best of luck. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Sama-sama.